What is up, everybody? My name is Reggie, and we are back with another preview for OFPG. Today, we are previewing Colossi. This game is designed by John Drexler, and the art is by Sean Thurlow. It's about 2 to 4 players and about 10 to 15 minutes per player. It is coming to Kickstarter, so pay attention to see if you would like to check this one out on that crowdfunding website. Before we get started with my preview, here is an overview from the larger-than-life Starla.
Colossi is a quick, tactical 2 to 4 player card game that gives you tons of opportunities to make clever moves and outwit your opponents. In Colossi, you play as a giant, ancient Colossus battling for control of different environments. Colossi has 2 phases, hand building and skirmishes. During the hand building phase, you will prepare cards face down to prepare the hands you will use later during skirmishes. Once a skirmish begins in an environment, you will pick up the cards you prepared there and battle with those cards by playing them face up. You will prepare 3 hands at once to fight skirmishes over different environments. The first player to win 3 skirmishes wins the game.
Thank you, Starla, for that overview. As you all can see, there is a lot of game packed in this small box here. Thematically, you are a Colossus, hence the plural form of the word Colossi, fighting for control of the island. To do so, you must summon acolytes and beasts, as well as control the elements fire, water, and electricity, and use your divine gifts to overpower your enemies. So this game is a free-for-all, and there's only one winner. The prototype we were given only had 2 player decks, but there are 4 in the real game, in the full version of the game. And of the 4 player decks, they're all exactly the same. The only difference is the back of the card. So everyone gets equal footing. Where the variety comes in is the 3 environments that will be in front of you, and each of those environments is going to also get random items on them. So right away, if you're looking at the environments, you're looking at this game, you can kind of see it's a little bit of a lane battler is what I would call it. So it's very much comparable to games that come to mind for me: Air, Land, and Sea, Smash Up, the digital card game Marvel Snap. If you enjoy any of those games, you definitely should try out Colossi. As for the artwork and components, they are very efficient in this small box. I would also like to highlight, at least in the prototype version, it was all covered in paper instead of a bunch of single-use plastic or shrink wrap, and I really appreciate that. What's in the box are the player decks, which are normal size standard cards. Then there are the larger cards that represent the environments, and there are the smaller cards that represent the items. I really like how distinct it is. You're not going to get confused which type of card is which. I also really want to highlight some of this art by Mr. Thurlow on the environments especially. They're very, very beautiful landscapes. I really like the way they look and really are distinct. For the Badlands or the desert or the cavern, they were really kind of drew you into this world that you're thinking about. And I'll also highlight the graphic design. I think is especially nice in this game. The graphic designer's name is Grant Thomas, and what I really appreciated about it was how clear and concise it was with the different types of items, the different cards you have. There are different card types like the beasts and the water and the electricity, the acolytes, all of those I mentioned in the thematic part. And it really is so clear, and you have to praise graphic design when you get it. Also, there is a nice handy dandy turn summary and card type explainer card as well. So for the gameplay experience, I want to reiterate that I played this game at 2 player because that's what my prototype came with, was 2 player decks, but it can go up to 4. I do want to show appreciation for the accuracy of the time count on the box. It says 10 to 15 minutes per player, playing with just one other person. Each time was right about 20 minutes. Even the first game where we had to reference the rulebook a few times just because we were learning it. So I would really appreciate that. Speaking of the rulebook, I really also want to highlight the card classification section. basically an appendix for any sort of questions you might have about specific cards or how they interact with other cards. And I'm finding when I play a lot of board games now, I really notice when something like that is lacking from a game, and I really appreciate that John put this in the game. So like I said, this game is familiar with when it comes to the environments, the 3 areas, very much like other games that have bases or locations or theaters. This game has environments. And I just want to highlight a few key differences, or I should say unique spins on this genre that this game brings in. So number 1 is every single time you play a card, for the most part, you are playing it face down. It's called preparing. You're preparing a card. And as a long-term Yu-Gi-Oh fan for long-time viewers of the show, I have to say it feels like playing a trap card down in Yu-Gi-Oh, and it's awesome. But you're playing them face down as opposed to face up like most other games, and that's every time. Then, when an environment has 8 or more cards, you can choose to initiate a skirmish. Basically, as my wife said, start a fight. So if you want to start the fight and become the initiator, you have to choose to initiate the skirmish, and you do not get to play a card that turn. You can't play a card and then initiate to bolster your forces. But the really intriguing thing to me is when the skirmish starts, you take all the cards, face down cards that you've prepared at that environment, and then you add them to your hand of likely 3, and then you play alternating face up cards, and that's when you have the battle. So you are preparing cards in all these environments, and you don't know which skirmish is going to happen first, but you're keeping cards in your hand too that you can play face up when a skirmish occurs. And I really think this is the key difference from this game and what kind of lets it stand out from, again, other lane control type games. The second key feature I'd really like to highlight is that the environments themselves have different effects when the skirmish breaks out or during the preparation phase. There's only 2 phases to the game: the hand building, which is preparing cards face down, and the actual skirmishes that happen when someone initiates it. So the environments themselves really make each play of the game different and each skirmish different, because the environment will actually affect the cards in your hand, which cards you can play, or when you can play them, or the power of those cards. So after all the skirmishing happens, and you count up your score very similar to other games, and you will win that environment, put it next to you, and the first person to have won 3 skirmishes wins the game. So it really is straightforward after that part, but those unique twists where you're preparing cards face down, the environments themselves have powers, and that you are adding those face down cards to your hand that you are keeping the whole time before you have the battle, all make this shine as a unique game in the genre. Overall, Colossi is a beautiful tactical game with familiar mechanics to the lane battler genre. However, it is deep and adds fresh elements that allow it to stand out from its predecessors. Before I played this game, I had a fear of giants, and I called it Fee-Fi-Phobia. Just kidding. If you like this game, it is coming to Kickstarter in mid-November, so check it out. Look into it for yourself. Don't take our word for it. See if it would be a good fit for your family or your gaming group. Again, this is RollingReggie. If you like and want to see more of me, I'm always on OFPG Voices episodes regularly, and you can find me all over the interwebs at rolling.reggie. Thank you, and have a great day, night, morning, whatever.